All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Spiritual Fluffers. Remember to check us out at our website at spiritualfluffers.love. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about compassionate detachment and about enablers and empaths.
Yep.
So before we get started, Jason, what is an enabler?
Enabler is pretty much pretty much every one of us watching the show, or what we do when we have a low love level, is we'll enable instead of actually help people. It's almost better to describe it of, am I actually helping this person move forward, or by just enabling them to stay in mono, stay in a bad relationship, to not become a better person. And I think pretty much everyone watching this is an enabler. I'm a recovering enabler. I still do it on occasion.
I'm pretty much still an enabler. Yeah. I'm working on recovery. I don't have a 12-step program yet, but I am definitely an enabler.
It's our default as being empathetic people and caring people. We tend to enable because we're like, oh, if I give them one cup of happiness, that's not enough. I've got to give all myself.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I think that's been the challenge for me, is I've never necessarily classified it as enabling, but I am definitely one that wants to just scoop you up and carry you across the finish line. No problem, I got this. And so understanding that that's actually enabling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, another thing about it is, like, we're talking about finish line. There is no finish line. It's an imaginary finish line. It doesn't exist.
We are infinite beings having an infinite life here.
Like, where are you carrying them? Oh, I'm not.
I'm not.
And then what ends up happening when you enable them is you start resenting them, and actually they start resenting you. And they're doing it. It's actually at a soul level where they're doing it where you're not allowing them to experience life. So I think they unconsciously resent you and themselves, and they start hating themselves more, even though you're helping them. And I know everyone has experienced that.
Sure.
Where they're like, oh, that person's being ungrateful. And you're like,
they're probably actually trying to fight a little bit for their own individuality. Like their ability. On our last vlog we talked about the fact that you are the canvas and the painter. And so if I'm the canvas and the painter, and you're your canvas and you're your painter, but yet I'm trying to paint on your canvas, then you're going, get off my canvas. Yeah. I'd like to be my own painter on my canvas. And I'm going, oh, no. But I can paint you a really beautiful picture. And you're like, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care what mine looks like. I just want it to be mine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, again, they might not understand it, and most people won't understand it on an unconscious level. And also, heck, if we're talking about this is the first time that you've heard about it.
Yeah, this past year has been the first time I've ever heard it. I mean, we've all heard terms like codependency, and I've heard that, but I never really, and we've heard from like drug addiction, that there's enablers, or alcoholism, you're enabling somebody. Like, I got that conceptually, but to understand that even in our personal relationships, our friendships, our interpersonal relationships, our intimate partners, that I could be enabling you from actually being in your own soul path. In your own spiritual walk. And I'm doing it out of what I think is really good intentions.
It's love, out of love. Again,
it's what I've defined as love, right?
Yep.
Because if it's true universal love, unconditional love, then I am actually going to back away and allow you to express yourself however you feel you should, whether or not I agree it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, if you actually do love someone with universal love, you're actually like, oh, it's all good. Everything's fine, and it's all going to be okay. But,
we're going to do a series on love and love levels, so make sure and check that out too, to get a little more understanding on what we mean by universal love and loving yourself and loving others with that unconditional love. So we've talked a little bit about enablers and what it means to enable someone and to sort of keep them from their own soul path through compassionate interference, right? But what we want to talk about is this concept of compassionate detachment. And so really understanding that the most compassionate thing I can do for someone is allow them to be their canvas and their painter and not interfere.
You can nudge, but not again, carry them across the finish line. This isn't a war.
No finish line, right? Where's the finish line?
Yeah.
We're just going to go around with some tape and just say, okay, break through the finish line.
Yeah, you made it. But again, it's what we do. So we make light of this because I think it's easier, because really what we're doing is we're fighting our own ego.
Totally.
And we're doing it for our own ego, to enable our ego.
Yes.
So, but in order to beat your ego, you just have to start making fun of it, basically. Yeah. So if we sound light, it's because... You have to
have a sense of humor with all of this, or else you'd be in the corner crying all the time, I think. If I really, really thought about all the lives that I've interfered with, out thinking it was good, you know, I really would be in a corner going, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry.
I didn't mean to spiritually smother you, take the pillow over your face and go...
Lee Harris is an energy person I love. If any of you look up Lee Harris, Energy Speaks, he is great. He calls them energy terrorists. They come in and they just smother you with their energy, and they don't ever ask for boundary space, or, you know, oh, you have boundaries? No, I'm just gonna pour my energy all over you.
Here to help.
Put here to help.
Over your face. Just hold still.
Don't worry. Just hold still. You don't need to breathe.
Yeah, you're
it's
good.
Fine. I'll breathe for you. So when we're talking about enabling, though, let's talk a little bit about this concept of compassionate detachment. What does that mean when you're working with empaths? And first of all, what is an empath? And then why is it more difficult for those of us who are empaths to have compassionate detachment? So what is an empath?
I mean, I think an empath is someone that can basically just feel other people's emotion probably even better than their own emotion. I would actually say 99% of empaths feel people way too much and don't feel themselves at all or enough.
Yeah.
And again, like an empath, especially if you don't know you're an empath, you end up building up really, really bad habits. It's just because we're feeding off of the environment around us, and unfortunately a lot of us grew up in toxic environments. Basically, if you're watching the news, it's toxic. If you're on social media, it's toxic. A lot of your friends will become toxic because it's not their fault. They're just in this environment where they're not an active participant in their own happiness, so they're not as happy as they should be. And then as an empath, we're like, oh no, you need to be happy. Oh, I'll
Here,
be
let
happy.
me help you.
Let me bend over backwards. Let me break myself. Oh, do you want a pint of my blood? Here you
go. Yeah.
And I guess that's how I would describe it, because it's very difficult. I would say 99% of the people who are watching this are probably empaths.
I would agree. And in fact, I think the human condition, I believe that the human condition is for us to be empathic.
Yeah.
We are intended and designed to feel and bounce off one another's energy. Yeah. And I think to your point of we're raised in certain families, we talked on the last log on certain religious constructs. We go to schools, we get married, we do these traditional life things, and we are conditioned into being. Mm-hmm. And it's almost an unawakened state, almost robotic way of existing. And this awakening process is allowing us to understand that, whoa, we are actually all energetic beings. And I have been interacting with other people's energy my whole life, but I've done so sort of blindly and ignorantly, and now I'm trying to be more intentional about understanding it. What I've done in my blindness is actually enabled lots of people. I've actually taken on other people's energies. I mean, every relationship I've ever had, every interpersonal relationship I've ever had, I have willfully almost dissolved my own identity in order to make sure you're happy.
Yep. And again, we can talk about the two major types of enabling are divine masculine enabler, which is more of a fixer person where they're like, okay, I'm going to fix everything. No, I've got this. No, you don't need to do anything.
And it's fine. I'll take care of it.
And again, you're probably going to actually, after watching this, look back and be like, oh yeah, I did that. And then there's also divine feminine, which is more, I'll bend over backwards to conform. I call it chameleon, where you'll just take on anyone's personality profile and to enable them to usually not be a better person. We think we're making them to be a better person, but for the most part, we're usually enabling people to become a worse self, and it's not healthy. And I think there's different approaches with each person. But first, I think the first task would be A, admit that you're an enabler. B, try to figure out which type you are.
Yeah, are you one that swoops into your relationships with the fixing and the solutions and I've got this, don't worry about it? Or are you one that is, here, how can I conform my body or change me in order to make you happy and make sure your life is together?
They're both not good.
Right.
Or sorry, they're both good if you actually balance it to not be an enabler. Because it's okay to be a fixer. It's okay to be a chameleon. You're infinite in nature, therefore it's fine. But it's not good in a relationship. And also, again, the end result is it creates resentment both towards you and the other person and the person towards you because you're smothering them. And again, you are not intending to do that. It's totally fine.
Right.
Also, don't look at it as like, oh my God, you can't totally look at it as like, oh, I've hurt someone's path. Because you're not totally, but you are blocking it a little bit.
No, and I think that's the other thing that's important for us to express to you out there who are watching us and listening to us, that it's okay. Like, we are all in one giant circus journey of Earth here, and we've got all different kinds of sideshow acts happening everywhere. Yep. And there, while it may seem there's horrific conditions around us and atrocities happening, and there's also vast amounts of love and beauty and pleasure and joy and bliss in the world too. So it's not that we're saying what you've done in your relationships has been awful and you should feel guilty about it. I think it's more about be aware, be conscious. So I like you're saying, like, first of all, realize we're all empathic. We all have energy, that we interact with other people's energy. Now, am I enabling in my energy exchange with you? And if I am enabling, then am I doing it as a fixer, which is more divine masculine, or am I doing it as a chameleon, which is more divine feminine? And then is that good or bad for me or you, right? So to just be more aware and awake. Yep. In the decision making, actively participating in your happiness. I really like the way you say that.
It's really important because, again, it's fine to be this. We just have to recognize that we are this, and we have to spend, for our sake and also for our real happiness sake. Again, our journey, it doesn't matter because, again, infinite in nature, it does, like this lifetime. Don't worry, if you mess it up, you'll get another lifetime to try again. You're fine. It's fine. So again, we're just trying to get us to become more aware of what we're doing in our own sovereignty and how to express our sovereignty both on the world around us, on ourselves, and other people.
Exactly.
And again, we use defining definitions. They're not perfect because, again, we're in an infinite universe. There are no perfect definitions. There's really good definitions. This is a table. This is a chair. When we're talking about this stuff, there are no perfect definitions because words are really good at describing the physical. They're not good at describing the metaphysical. Like, that's why we have billions of songs trying to describe love, because when we say love, it's almost meaningless.
Yeah, it's anything and everything and nothing.
It's such a general term.
It's no thing and it's everything all at the same time.
So, but again, when we're talking about divine feminine and divine masculine, again, just be aware of it. Be aware if you're a fixer, and this is why probably some of your relationships didn't work out, is because you overdid that. Also, again, you'll start to, once you see that you're an enabler, you'll recognize your own power. Like, you'll understand when you're almost smothering someone, and you're like, no, I'm doing it because I love them. And you're like, you're doing it because usually you're not confident in your own sovereignty. Exactly.
You believe they need to be fixed in some way, or you believe that you need to become more like them in some way so that you'll be happier.
Yeah.
And it's what we're understanding on our spiritual awakening process is that the deeper you go within yourself and the more you start to look inward and look at your own actions and behaviors, the stronger you become in your own sovereignty, and the less you need to actively impose or enable onto others. It becomes less important for me to fix you, so to speak.
Well, and also part of it is you are doing it because, like, it's really weird to say this because most fixers will say, no, I'm very self-confident and I'm doing it because I love people. But really you're doing it because you have a low love level and you don't feel worthy of that love. You don't feel worthy of universal love. You feel worthy of only conditional love.
Yes.
And that's the block, and that's what we want you to do. We don't want you to stop being you. Like, that's not...
No.
A, it's not possible.
No,
Infinite
it's
universe.
not possible. Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Let's go figure out how to do that.
But yeah, we just want you to become more aware of it. We're going to do visualization techniques probably in a couple blogs where what's really going on at the deeper level is your ego is taking control of you and saying you're not worthy unless you're completely and utterly trying to fix this person, or you're not worthy unless you bend over backwards and prop up this person to an unrealistic degree. And a lot of it comes from that, and it comes from not having self-love or real self-love. Because again, talking about love, you might think you have self-love, but it's always...
conditional.
Most likely it's conditional. It's not universal. And our whole goal on this planet is to feel how to love ourselves universally and unconditionally, and also to love this world universally and unconditionally. And pretty much everything else is mostly a distraction. You're like, oh no, this is important.
I mean, it is. If it is important, if it's creating that awareness in you that you need more love, and how to do that, how to access that. And again, we're going to do a whole series on love and love levels. So make sure and check that out, because you'll be able to learn a little bit about how to up your own love level, which then goes right into the higher love level you have, the less I am going to be imposing on you to enable, the less I'm going to want to paint on your canvas.
Yeah.
If I'm over here focusing on my majestic, Picasso-esque painting that is my life, then I don't need to paint on your canvas.
Yeah. Well, and you'll be painting in a more beautifully way on your own, and then also on other people's when you do it.
Right. And I love that too. So it's not that we aren't in relationships where it's not that you're not ever wanting an energetic exchange from me as a friend. You are wanting me to paint on your canvas occasionally, but we're doing it consciously and aware of where you are and where you're wanting to head in your own life. And you've set boundaries. You've set the boundaries for me here. I want you to paint, but I want you to paint on this space over here, not this space over here. And I go, oh, okay. And I will adhere to those boundaries in a healthy way.
Yeah. Not a conditional love way. Because again, unfortunately, we all right now are doing conditional love, not universal love. And again, we'll be more precise with that definition when we talk about love levels, but it's absolutely important to realize, A, it's okay, but B, this is what you're doing. And again, we're just trying to define stuff so that you have hopefully an easier time with this and this journey, because it is a journey. It is,
and it's like we said on the first one, you're not losing your mind. These things really are happening. You really are feeling differently around people. I know I've had friends who've been extroverts their whole lives don't even want to go out anymore, because when they're out in bars or at clubs or even at movies, they're feeling and sensing the energy of everybody around them, and they can't quite understand what it is. And some are feeling physical symptoms, they're feeling ill and headaches, and it's like, what's wrong with me? Well, there's really nothing wrong with you. It's that these superpowers that we were all born with are waking up in you. And so now it's the time for you to try to figure out what those are. We're helping you with language, saying these are empathic. They're energy empathic powers that you all have. They're psychic abilities. You're starting to tap into the people's thoughts and ideas, and you're wondering where they're coming from. And we're trying to help you get to a place where you understand that compassionate detachment from those others is a healthy way to keep you safe. and happy. Like, I want to be able to go out to a bar with my friend and have drinks and laugh and not carry home everybody's problems in the whole bar, right?
Yeah. Because again, like at the end result of this, it's a sensitization process, and when you become more sensitized, again, a lot of you might be feeling actual emotions for the first time in your life. You block them out probably between the age of 6 and 11, and again, it's gonna feel weird. You're gonna be like, oh, this is not comfortable, or and
what's happening to me.
So, and it's completely normal, it's completely fine. And I mean, that's kind of, I think that's kind of what we just wanted to talk about on this.
Yeah, totally. So make sure and comment below, give us a thumbs up if it was helpful for you at all. Be sure and subscribe, and check out the website spiritualfluffers.love. We'll see you again on the other side.